Racist cop pulls gun on Black Army general. The shocking truth. Major General Sarah Miller, a highly decorated U.S. Army veteran, had set aside this rare day off for something simple, some retail therapy. At 42, with close-cropped hair streaked with silver, she carried an air of authority that couldn't be ignored. Dressed casually in a tracksuit and sneakers, she blended effortlessly into the weekend rush at the upscale Westfield Mall. After 2 decades in the military, leading troops through dangerous war zones and negotiating intense peace treaties, Sarah was used to high-pressure situations. But today, her only goal was to find a good pair of running shoes and maybe enjoy a smoothie afterward. As she browsed through a high-end athletic store, she couldn't help but notice lingering stares. It wasn't unusual for her to turn heads, but these glances carried something different, a subtle suspicion that sent an uneasy chill down her spine. Brushing off the feeling, she continued her search. Little did she know, Officer Troy Beckett had just entered the mall. A middle-aged cop with a rough exterior, Beckett was infamous for his snap judgments and an even quicker trigger finger. Over the years, multiple complaints of racial profiling had been lodged against him, but they were always brushed under the rug. Despite being off-duty, Beckett walked around in jeans and a plain white t-shirt, his badge and pistol still openly displayed on his hip. As he passed by the athletic store, his gaze locked onto Sarah. Something about her, the way she carried herself, her upright posture, set off alarms in his head. In Beckett's mind, she didn't fit the typical profile of a shopper in this upscale mall. Instead of walking away, he stationed himself near the store entrance, pretending to check his phone while closely monitoring Sarah, his thoughts clouded with assumptions. Completely unaware of the scrutiny, Sarah selected a pair of shoes and made her way to the checkout counter. The young cashier gave her a nervous smile as he processed her purchase. She handed over her credit card, waiting for the transaction to go through, when she noticed Beckett still standing outside, staring directly at her. A wave of unease washed over her, but she pushed it aside. The moment she stepped out of the store, Beckett moved in, blocking her path. "Excuse me, ma'am," he said in a rough tone. "I need to ask you a few questions." Sarah arched an eyebrow. "Is there a problem, officers?" "You are acting suspicious in there," Beckett replied, resting his hand on his holster. "Mind telling me what you were up to?" Years of handling high-pressure situations had sharpened Sarah's patience, but it was wearing thin. "I was buying shoes," she said flatly, holding up the bag. "Is that a crime?" Beckett's eyes narrowed. "Let me see some ID." "Why?" she asked, keeping her voice steady but firm. "Did I do something wrong?" Beckett's grip on his weapon tightened. "Don't make this harder than it needs to be." And then it clicked. This wasn't about her actions. It was about the color of her skin. Her heart sank, but she refused to back down. "Officer," she said, her voice unwavering, "I need you to step back. I've done nothing wrong, and I won't be treated like a criminal for shopping." But Beckett wasn't listening. His mind was made up. In an instant, he drew his gun, aiming it directly at her. The entire mall seemed to freeze. Shoppers gasped. Mothers pulled their children close. Store clerks peeked from behind counters, fear plastered across their faces. Sarah's heart pounded, but panic had no place here. Her military instincts took over. Slowly, she raised her hands, keeping her gaze locked onto Beckett. "Drop the bag," he barked. Sarah let the shopping bag slip from her fingers. "Officer, you're making a mistake," she said, her voice calm but firm. "Don't tell me what I'm doing." Beckett snapped. "Get on the ground." Sarah hesitated. Kneeling would mean complete submission. She refused to give him that satisfaction. "Officer," she stated, her voice clear and commanding, "I am Major General Sarah Miller of the United States Army. I strongly suggest you lower your weapon." For a split second, Beckett wavered. There was no denying the authority in her voice. But his prejudice was stronger than reason. "Yeah, right," he scoffed. "Get on the ground. Now. Or else." "Or else what?" A voice cut through the tension. A young man had stepped forward, holding up his phone, recording everything. "She literally just told you she's a general," the man said. "Dude, you're pointing a gun at a war hero?" Beckett's face burned red. "Put that phone away and move along," he shouted. But it was too late.
More phones were out now.
The crowd had grown. Whispers turned into murmurs, murmurs into voices. Sarah seized the moment. "Officer Beckett," she said, glancing at his badge, "you're making the biggest mistake of your career."
"Stand down."
Beckett hesitated, his grip on the gun trembling. The pressure from the crowd was mounting. "Do you even know who you're aiming at?" someone shouted. Just then, mall security arrived. 2 guards rushed over, their faces pale as they took in the scene. "What's going on here?" one demanded. Beckett didn't answer, but Sarah did. "This officer drew his weapon on me for no reason," she stated. "I want to speak to his supervisor." Within minutes, the mall manager arrived, followed by a police captain who had been shopping nearby. The captain, a middle-aged black woman named Denise Harper, took one look at Sarah and froze. "General Miller?" she gasped, rushing over. "What on earth is happening here?" In a few concise sentences, Sarah explained the situation, her voice unwavering. Captain Harper turned to Beckett, her face dark with fury. "Holster your weapon."
"Now," she ordered.
Beckett hesitated, but the authority in Harper's voice left no room for argument. Reluctantly, he obeyed. Harper turned to Sarah. "I am so sorry, General. This is unacceptable." "It is," Sarah agreed, "and I expect it to be handled accordingly." The fallout was swift. The video went viral, sparking outrage across the country. News outlets picked up the story. Beckett's history of racial profiling came under fire. Within a week, he was suspended without pay, pending investigation. Meanwhile, Sarah received overwhelming support from the public and fellow service members. In an interview, she stated, "This isn't just about me. It's about the countless others who don't have the rank or platform to defend themselves. This has to stop." Her story became a rallying cry for justice, shining a light on the dangers of racial profiling and the abuse of power in law enforcement. It was a reminder that, no matter one's achievements, Black individuals can still face discrimination. But it also underscored something else: the power of community. It was the bystanders, the cameras, the voices that held those in power accountable. Without them, the truth might have been buried. Sarah Miller's story is a testament to the fight against injustice, a fight that isn't over, and one that requires all of us to stand up, speak out, and demand a more just and equitable society.